So one of the reasons why they think that Elvis Presley is Donald Trump is because they think they look a bit similar in the face.
Elvis Presley and Donald
And
Trump.
to be honest,
Do they?
like,
Show me.
I kind of see what they mean.
That's way more than I thought.
Yeah. One thing is lots and lots of theories about certain famous people not dying.
Yeah. It's
So
all
Elvis hasn't died.
Elvis. Tupac.
Tupac hasn't died. Hitler hasn't died. 3 quite different individuals, I'd say. But similarly, Finland doesn't exist.
I've not been to Finland, so this one could be true.
Welcome to the Politics of podcast. My name is Zoe Grunewald.
And I'm Ali Milani.
And today we're going to be talking about the politics of conspiracy theories. So this is from the plausible to the utterly bonkers. Ali, did you know that some people think Belgium isn't real? Paul McCartney died in 1966. And Donald Trump is actually Elvis Presley in disguise.
I knew about the Elvis Presley one.
You did know about
I
that?
believe in this one. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we're going to dive into some strange ones sent from listeners. Some of them are weird, some of them are worrying, some of them are kind of plausible, actually, in my opinion. But we're going to also be talking about why people believe conspiracy theories, who spreads them, and what happens when these wild ideas escape the internet and go into the mainstream. So, Ali, I'm going to start by asking you, what is the craziest thing you believe to be true, even if no one else agrees with you?
I don't know if it's particularly correct. Like, the one conspiracy theory I believe in is that JFK assassination official story isn't true. Then there's the other ones, like the more recent one, Epstein not killing himself, is obviously, for me, like, there are bigger questions there. Some of the UFO alien stuff, I don't believe that we've made contact with aliens, but some of the UFO stuff, I've seen some like pretty plausible stuff on. We may not know what kind of aircrafts or what kind of, that something around unidentified flying objects, that sort of stuff.
You think there might have been a cover-up?
Of some kind.
Of whatever was in the sky?
Yeah, of some kind, probably.
But not necessarily short greys or long greys or whatever they're called?
No. It's plausible. We'll get into the UFO alien ones. I don't believe it, but I can see it being true, basically. Mm-hmm. So the argument isn't enticing to me. Well, it's enticing to me, but it hasn't convinced me, if that makes sense. The most fascinating recent one I've got, which we'll talk about later as well, is QAnon. I think QAnon is really, really interesting. But the one that I believe in specifically is the JFK assassination. I will say, so as we're doing the episode, I was a big conspiracy theory nut as a kid. So one of the reasons this conversation is really interesting to me, I believed every single one. And when I first got involved in politics, when I was like 14, 15, 16, around that age, I was fully in the board of like Bush did 9/11, JFK was killed by the CIA, the moon landing was a hoax. I believed all of that shit.
So why do you think you believed it? Is it because like when I was younger, definitely I did too, and I remember me and my friends used to spend a long time talking about conspiracy theories. And I know when I was doing some research and looking at why people are drawn to conspiracy theories, a lot of it is a distrust of authority. Yeah. And I think naturally, probably, it's weird because obviously kids they have to trust authority. But when you're at school and you're a teenager, you will have a massive rebellious mistrust.
Years. Yeah.
So I wonder if they're kind of related.
So you believed some too as well?
Yeah.
What were the ones that got you when you were
9/11 was, I spent hours on YouTube watching videos about 9/11.
Can I tell you something about 9/11? Yeah. So when I became a candidate in Uxbridge, Guido Fawkes went on my Facebook, and I didn't know that the pages that you've liked are public. People can see what pages you've liked.
Uh-oh.
And I've had that Facebook page since I was 11, 12, whatever, right? 13. I don't know, but young. And they did like 2 or 3 headlines of me in a tinfoil hat being like, Labour's candidate is a 9/11 truther.
Oh, wow.
And we had a campaign meeting with my team, the local, and they were like, what's this? And I was like, I won't lie to you. I believed all that. Everything you've seen,
I still do.
It's all true.
I'm dying on this hill. So what did you think? Bush did 9/11?
Well, it was
as an excuse to invade.
Yeah, so it was like obviously I don't believe that anyway now, obviously, and I can see how I was pulled in. No, I actually don't now. But so your question as to why it was enticing, I tell you why. So it was definitely a natural distrust of authority, because like especially when I was like 14, 15, we had like a complicated relationship with the police, for example, with the state, and with particularly Iraq, Afghanistan, and like that sort of stuff. Made us just distrust authority as a whole, everything from our teachers to the police officers to the state and like governments. The reason I think conspiracy theories are so enticing is that they take bad things that happen around the world or bad circumstances around the world, and they tie them up in a neat little bow where there's one evil person, one master plan. It's often quite entertaining, and that's the reason bad things are happening. And that's so much easier than the reality that actually I think now exists in the world, where so much of the time shit happens because of incompetence, naivety, yes, quite a lot of malice, but it's more nuanced, it's more complicated, and conspiracy theories just make it all easier.
I think that's right. And I think the other thing that is important is it's not just that distrust of authority. There's also, I think, when you believe a conspiracy theory, it gives you a little bit of a sort of psychological ego boost.
Yeah,
like
you think you're in on something other people aren't.
You think you've like had, what is it? The you've taken the black pill, red pill,
one of the pills.
And you've seen the world in a way that once you see it that way, you can't see it in any differently. And I think, especially at a time, say as when you're a teenager, when just where you are in your life, you feel like you don't have a lot of control. You're being told what to do. You don't, you don't know what's ahead of your life. It can be very comforting, I think, to buy into those things. But I think increasingly now we're seeing people, or at least, we'll discuss whether we're actually seeing the conspiracy theories get more popular, but we're definitely seeing people talk about conspiracy theories more and them entering the mainstream more. So you spoke about QAnon, but we've seen it here, the spread of disinformation on social media, and how
COVID was a big part of that.
Yeah, COVID, and how that can create big political events. So I think people feeling disempowered, and I think that can correlate with people feeling like the government isn't listening to them, like they've had their needs ignored for a long time. Austerity, seeing declining living standards, all those things can make people feel disempowered. And then you have the rise of social media, where ideas can spread so very quickly across the globe, and you can find whole communities of people who will basically validate your worldview rather than challenge it. I think that has made it particularly.
There's definitely a community. Like you especially in the online space, you can develop a little community.
Absolutely. So it's an interesting stat. After the 2020 US election, a poll found that only 31% of Republicans believed Joe Biden was legitimately elected. Yeah. So you can see like how, this idea that the election was stolen, that was a conspiracy theory, but it actually entered the mainstream very, very quickly. And I think the other thing is, you spoke about COVID before. That was a huge rupture in society, in history. It completely changed how we all had to interact with the world for 18 months, maybe more. And there's this thing called proportionality bias, which is that we assume that big events must have big causes. A lot of people just couldn't imagine that it could be this chain reaction of whether it was a wet market in China or a lab leak or whatever people believed it was. They thought it must have been a big conspiratorial plot, because how can one little thing be so small and create something so big?
It's actually quite comforting to think that way, I think, because if one big thing is what causes one big event, then equally you can stop things happening if you change that one big evil person at the top.
Yes.
That's not true.
Yes.
And that's the other problem. There are so many different variables that are all interacting to create the scenarios, the situations, the crises that exist in the world. It's much more comforting, I think, to just think there's like a group of people or a single individual plotting and planning everything. I interrupted you. You said 9/11. Are there other ones that pulled you in as a kid that you can think of?
9/11 was the biggie.
Aliens, UFOs.
I liked the flat Earth stuff for a while. I mean, I didn't ever believe it, but it was compelling.
The flat Earth stuff has made a major comeback. Yeah. That now that we've said it, they'll be in our comments.
So there are a few conspiracy theories, like the flat Earth stuff and birds aren't real.
Yeah, I saw that one when I was Googling for the episode, but I don't read it. Do you know what it is? We'll talk about that later. Maybe we can look it up later.
Birds aren't real and maybe they're robots or something.
For what purpose?
Thank God I've got my trusty laptop with me. Birds aren't real. So this is my point. It was originally a satirical conspiracy theory. So birds are actually drones operated by the US government to spy on American citizens.
So it started off as a joke.
It started off as a joke, but now, well, it's
a bit like Scientology. It started off as a fictional book, and now it's real.
The point is, there's a blurred line between satire and, so it's the same with birds aren't real, the flat earth stuff. I think some people joke about it, and it's like that sort of edgelord stuff where you push it as far and far as you can, but then there will be people.
Have you seen the videos of the
who
flat
might buy into
earthers
it.
trying to prove that the earth is flat, and then their evidence shows that it's not flat, and they fucking melt down?
Yeah,
It's really funny.
yeah, it is really good. So I would say that the other one I was obsessed with, the JFK assassination was an interesting one. We actually got taught that in our history class.
The theories, the conspiracy theories.
We did like a whole module, which I'm not even sure was like a proper module that we got examined on, about conspiracy theories. It was also what happened to the Russian royal family.
Oh right, yeah.
You know, whether they were murdered or whether they disappeared. And Anastasia, the daughter, who then someone else popped up a few years later and said, "I'm Anastasia," and they couldn't figure out whether she was or not. JFK.
Hitler running off to Argentina was one.
Oh, that's a good one.
That he didn't die in the Second World War.
There's lots of like. One thing is lots and lots of theories about certain famous people not dying.
Yeah. It's all
Elvis hasn't died.
Elvis, Tupac.
Tupac hasn't died. Hitler hasn't died. 3 quite different individuals, I'd say. But that is interesting, isn't it? It's like when people are so.
Michael Jackson was another one.
Yeah, Michael Jackson. Like, it's like people have to, like, obviously eventually, like, Hitler's going to be dead now.
Yeah.
Like, eventually people have to die.
Yeah.
So why are people so keen to always say that someone isn't dead?
I wonder what the non-dead one is. Yeah. What's the whole? Why are people obsessed with people faking their own deaths? Is a question.
And it's like not that easy to fake your own death. Yeah. But yeah, so there's been lots of discussion about conspiracy theories becoming more prevalent and mainstream. So there was a study done by King's College London that found that 1/3 of UK adults believe in various conspiracy theories, including ideas like the Great Replacement Theory, which is a pretty Islamophobic and anti-Semitic, I mean, I say pretty, very Islamophobic, anti-Semitic theory about immigration.
So the Great Replacement Theory, for people watching and listening, is...
It's basically that there is a concerted effort to get, like...
a political effort to replace white people
with
migrants,
Muslims.
It depends on your particular brand of racism.
Yeah.
It could be Jews, it could be Muslims, it could be brown folk, it could be black folk.
The idea originally was that it was kind of the Jewish elite were trying to do it.
The Jewish elite were replacing white people with Muslims.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what I've been accused of before by an anti-Semite.
Yeah, so you brought me here to replace Chris and Brian and Jack.
I'm not Jewish, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
but not that the comments will ever believe it, by the way.
15-minute cities as well.
I want to talk about that.
One. Yeah.
Yeah, because we once, by the way, had someone was working on our flat at home, and we just got to chatting. I think my wife got to chat with him, and she fully was like 15-minute cities, and that's the first time I'd ever heard about it.
So, as far as I'm aware, with 15-minute cities, isn't it just like everything you need will be within a 15-minute walk?
So basically, Sadiq Khan spoke about the fact that I think it was basically what they wanted to make sure is that everybody had the basic essential services within 15 minutes of their house. So everything from a post office to a hospital or a GP practice, to I don't know, the things that you need every day, shops, that other thing, will be within 15 minutes.
And this is better for carbon emissions, public health, community. Yeah.
Obviously, that was then taken by the conspiracy theorists and gone, no, what they're going to do is lock you into communities, like literally build walls, and you can only go within 15 minutes of your house and within those like blockaded communities, and they won't let, for example, people from East London go into North London and North London into West London.
So, and presumably this all popped up sort of around COVID, after COVID, when
it was
people
after
were
COVID,
talking a lot about how they'd had their freedoms restricted, which they had.
Yes,
you know, we did have our freedoms and liberties restricted during COVID.
I mean, it was a global pandemic. It killed millions of people. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was kind of necessary. But again, it's that thing of when there's been a loss of control, when you've had all your liberties stripped from you from nothing you've done, trying to find a solution or an answer is very comforting.
But it goes back to what you were saying. So circumstances and events will happen, and then conspiracy theories kind of grow around them like weeds, in essence, because COVID obviously happened, and the 15-minute cities thing, it was something that was said by Sadiq Khan. And then the conspiracy theory kind of grows around it, like a sort of living organism, and like a weed that grows around it, which I think is really, really interesting. And then its prevalence, I don't actually think it's more prevalent today than it's been ever. I think it's just as prevalent as it's always been. I think it spreads faster now because of social media.
Yes.
And because previously, if you believed in a conspiracy theory, if you wanted to talk to other people who believed in that conspiracy theory, you had to convince people, or you had to, I guess, phically go to places.
Yeah.
Now there's like a fucking Reddit thread.
Yeah, for everything.
For everything.
So yeah, I think that's totally right. I think there's other research that suggests that actually you're right, they haven't increased over time. What is happening is that there's more heightened visibility and awareness of this because of social media. So they're much more accessible. They seem more widespread. The algorithms as well, you know, people find them interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
They are really interesting. And often,
sometimes-
it's often as well, the videos.
Yeah, I mean,
They're so
sometimes if
good.
I've been scrolling TikTok for too long on a Friday night, it like its nose, it will be like, you want to know
There's
about
this
why
guy-
the Earth is flat, don't you?
Yeah, there's this guy who also, by the way, has a really, really good voice, who goes on these like weird, like alt-right podcasts and drops the maddest conspiracy theories. And I can totally see how like bonkers they are, but I'll watch the whole video because he talks about how like the pyramids were built by ancient alien civilizations, and at the center of it is like aliens who are controlled, and like obviously it's absolute nonsense, but I'll watch the entire fucking like,
because it's interesting.
yeah, because it's interesting.
I think as well, the other thing that we really need to bear in mind is
And
that
sorry, they're often more interesting than real life. That's why.
yeah, but I think the other thing we need to bear in mind is that now most people get their news, maybe not all their news, but most of their news from social media. And this is making us all more vulnerable to misinformation and disinformation. So just to break down those terms, disinformation is actively putting out harmful, inaccurate information to spread inaccuracies. Misinformation could be inadvertent. You know, you could share something, you think it's real, you share it, that's misinformation. Conspiracy theories can be either, right? You could genuinely believe a conspiracy theory and share it.
And conspiracy theories can be real, right? So conspiracies can be real, which is...
Yes, there are cover-ups. I mean, this is the thing, right? There are cover-ups. And I think...
Yeah, so when we use the term conspiracy theory, it's often used in a degrading way or in a dismissive way. It doesn't have to be, because conspiracy theories can be true.
Yes.
Like 90%, 99% of the time they're not, but there are cover-ups, there are conspiracies.
Yeah, and there are lots of things that I think people would point to and say, that's fishy and we never got answers. So, for example, Jeffrey Epstein's death. Yeah. You know, and even stuff like the expenses scandal, right? It wasn't a conspiracy, but when you have a huge incident of multiple people in trusted, you know, positions of authority doing things that they probably knew weren't right, and then sort of, you know, trying to dust it under the rug, that feeds into this feeling that people can't trust figures of authority, right? So,
and I imagine the level of trust to authorities, institutions, politicians is at like record lows.
yes, it is. It's the lowest it's been. You know, people don't think the government any government of any stripe ever has their best interest at heart. They don't trust journalists. They don't trust media.
And that's and that's fertile ground for conspiracy theories.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you put out a call, didn't you? Asking people to send conspiracy theories.
I did. So I wanted to know what...
I didn't put out the call. Do you know why? Because I had so many on my own.
Wait, okay, good. All right. So I will read you some that I got from listeners that are... Some of them are really crazy. Some of them are good.
Any
Some
of them
I've
sound
heard before.
believable to you? I mean, I guess they didn't send you a whole write-up, but...
No.
No, they're all crazy.
They're all crazy. Oh, well, where shall I start? I'll start light. Boris Johnson has a fake baby.
He has enough real babies. Why does he need a fake baby?
So...
Is it because he did when he had his latest kid?
Yeah.
He wasn't showing their face, right?
Yes, but yeah, it was. I don't think anyone actually believed it, but it was.
So what? The he had a fake baby for political purposes.
Yes,
for the pictures
basically
and stuff?
for like his you know, his image, and it was baby Wilfred.
Yeah, I did once canvass door knocking, and one of our constituents had brought their baby, not like maybe 18 months, nearly 2 years, and he was in the stroller. And I just took over the stroller and I was going door by door. and it was an enormously helpful tool.
No, yeah, I think it might have been when things weren't going great in the opinion
he needed a baby.
polls. He needed a baby.
It's like the
but
royals.
I think
They always need a wedding or a baby to keep it
Yeah,
going.
but I think we know that this.
It's bollocks. Yeah.
But luckily, all the right-wing commentators rushed to his defense by posting pictures of their own babies and proving that babies can be tall, which was very helpful. Okay. Melania Trump has a body double.
Okay. Why?
She has a stand-in for certain public appearances, and presumably she doesn't like Donald Trump. And this person has.
It's because she wears those giant sunglasses everywhere she goes.
And like a really stiff demeanor. They think her demeanor changes quite a lot.
Would you blame her? Not really.
Huh?
I wouldn't blame her.
To be honest, I actually looked into this, and like some images of Melania, it doesn't look like her.
So body doubles are, I think, a little bit more prevalent in the Middle East.
Oh, really?
So yeah, political leaders will often have, not often, but will have body doubles.
Really?
Saddam Hussein had 7 body doubles. Yeah.
Okay, but because presumably he did it because he was worried about being assassinated, whereas
Melania
I think the
does it not to
suggestion is
get
she
near
does it because she
Trump.
hates Trump, which is good.
I wonder if the body double isn't. It's not for the public. It's to keep away from Donald Trump, so he believes that that's her.
Yeah, he might not even be in on it. Some political ones. Just Stop Oil are secretly backed by the Conservatives to discredit climate activism and make environmentalists look extreme.
Oh, yeah, but I think Just Stop Oil did their job.
Yeah.
Like, as they were extreme, but that was the point.
Yeah.
I think their point was that we're in an extreme moment that requires extreme action. And I definitely think Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil, whether I personally agree with their tactics or not, and others do, they 100% brought climate action and climate change to the top of the political agenda.
Yeah, I mean, they were huge. We were talking about them. LBC was like, getting so upset about them every single day.
I think 1 or 2 LBC presenters had brain aneurysms on air as a result.
No, I think, and also there are no
if
government policy is no new oil and gas licenses, so they say they did their job.
So it'd be a pretty terrible conspiracy from the Conservatives if they were secretly backing them.
Robert Jenrick wants a Tory reform merger.
I don't think so.
You don't think he does?
No, I think he probably want some sort of electoral pact, or they want Reform to fold into the Conservative Party.
Yeah, I think he'd do that but as long as he was still on top.
Yeah, but I just saw a recent article, 'cause I didn't know much about Robert Jenrick before his new right-wing sort of, what would you call it, conversion. But he's not always been this sort of hard right-wing politician. He's kind of adopted it more recently.
When Rishi Sunak brought him in, he did so as like his friend who would keep an eye on Suella Braverman, and he was supposed to be kind of like just a soft, he's easily impressioned man, and now he's gone super. I want to be the right wing.
Yeah, and he's just adopted this new far right persona to advance his political, his political objectives, and it kind of fits him because he looks like the template. Like when you start a new Sims character and they're the most basic before you start adding features. That's Robert Jenrick, so it helps him that he can shapeshift because he's the default on create a character on Sims.
On a similar vein, someone said Kemi Badenoch is a reform supporter. I mean,
Kemi Badenoch's more believable because she's always been.
But she is a reform supporter in that like she's just parrots reform's lines like 2 weeks later. Like she's the biggest reform fangirl. She just pretends not to be.
I saw on TikTok the other day that she's like pissed off the British Nigerian community. She's Nigerian, right? Yeah. And I think she kind of like disavowed her Nigerian heritage. And
she can't get anything right.
No. She'll be gone soon, right?
Belgium isn't a real country.
I've been there.
Me too. But apparently it's not a genuine nation state. It's a political invention. So I'll tell you.
Look, I did an essay on this at university. What is a nation state?
Well, let me explain this to you. Okay, so the Belgium doesn't exist theory dates back to the 1990s. A satirical article circulated online and earlier in some fringe political jokes claiming Belgium was invented after World War I as a political compromise between France, Germany and Britain. It's supposedly a buffer zone or fictional country created by major powers to stop Germany and France fighting, but it has no real cultural identity or national coherence. Some versions say it's just a province of France or the Netherlands, others that it's a made-up EU front to launder money or hide bureaucrats.
I mean, isn't every country made up?
Yes.
Right? For different political...
Yes, and throughout history, like, not all of them were, like, suddenly invented at the same time. Like, there are very young countries and very old countries.
Yeah, like you could like, for example, Iran, right, has very different ethnic makeups, very different cultural differences, languages, and it was made up by leaders at the time post sort of Persian Empire. So every country is fucking made.
I think again this is just like an extension of something that was probably a joke originally, which is that Belgium does have a few divides. Like it has linguistic divides, it has cultural divides because of how it's situated, and you know that has just culminated in what was supposed to be a joke being
There,
picked up by
I
some
will
people.
say though, there are, I don't know if you've ever seen, but there are some parts of the world and borders that make no sense whatsoever. There are parts of, like the Middle East, like some of these Gulf countries.
Yeah.
They're like, it makes no sense.
Yeah,
But
I think Belgium is.
it's as real a country as anything else.
Similarly, Finland doesn't exist.
I've not been to Finland, so this one could be true.
So this was a Reddit theory in 2015, which spread, and the user outlined it as a kind of elaborate parody of conspiracist thinking. But again, it sort of caught on. So they claimed that Finland is not a real place at all. It was fabricated by Japan and the Soviet Union during the Cold War to give Japan unrestricted fishing rights in the Baltic Sea without drawing
But did
suspicion.
Finland not exist before the Cold War? Or
I don't
or was it
know.
under the control of someone else?
Yeah, maybe.
Sorry, Finland.
Oh, I don't know. The landmass called
What is Finland?
is supposedly just open water, and maps are faked. And Finnish people are said to actually be from eastern Sweden, western Russia, or Estonia, or are paid actors. Few people travel to Finland relative to its size. This is the evidence the conspiracists cite. Its exports, especially Nokia phones, can supposedly come from anywhere, and the Trans-Siberian Railway supposedly exists to ship fish from the Finland region to Japan.
Have you ever been to Finland?
No, but
What
I
is Fin-
interviewed
is
a
it-
Finnish man the other day for an article.
I think my wife has been to Finland.
And also,
Hang on,
right,
let me
I wrote a whole piece about
1 second. I've got no signal here. I was going to try and call her and see if she's been to Finland.
but you know they would say that she's
She's in on it.
Yeah.
To be honest, she's in on a lot of stuff.
Okay, Finland has existed for a long time.
It has.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to.
First people arrived in Finland 9,000 years ago.
Is Helsinki the capital of Finland? Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think. I'm going to say it exists. I'm going to go
I
out on
think-
a limb.
I actually wrote a piece about why Finnish people are so happy because they always top the World Happiness Index.
Oh, do they?
Finland, yeah. And it's because they have a strong welfare state and they trust each other. So few conspiracy theories there. Maybe because they are subject to one.
Let's go. Do you have wilder ones?
Yes, I do. I've got some. Okay, how about this one? Russia stokes conflicts to trigger a refugee crisis.
Why? Does it say why?
To destabilize Western countries.
To create.
So it fuels wars abroad to destabilize Western countries by creating migration surges that polarize politics here in the UK.
Okay. I mean, we know for a fact that Russia have stoked political tensions and political divisiveness and divides in Western countries through like social media stuff. We've got full reports and intelligence services reports on that, and that they've interfered in elections, including the first Trump one and Brexit and other things. The problem I would say is that the conflicts that Russia have been involved in, certainly in Ukraine, Georgia, most recently Afghanistan, they've lost a lot of people. So it would seem, you'd like to think that's not true.
I think it also. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Like
What's definitely true, by the way,
Yeah.
and people need to think about, is conflict drive refugee crises and asylum crises. And people don't often think of it like that. Like, people disassociate the foreign policy of our country with the migration and refugee conversations that we're having, right? So people don't recognize, if you look at the top sort of 10 backgrounds of asylum seekers and refugees, they're all from conflict regions, and like 50% of them we either started, stoked, or perpetuated. So places like Iraq, Afghanistan.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the thing is, like, Russia does, as we know, fund certain conflicts, and it does definitely have an interest in destabilizing the West. We see that like with their interference on social media and in elections and stuff. Whether the refugee crisis is like a deliberate, concerted consequence of that, or whether it is a byproduct that is equally
I mean, also,
destabilizing, is a
it's not
different
just Russia.
issue.
Like, to cause societal problems. One of Trump's theories is that China is sort of pumping fentanyl and drugs into America to cause an opioid crisis.
Yeah.
So countries are constantly doing that sort of like, you know, guerrilla tactics to destabilize.
The glass industry was responsible for 9/11. Glass manufacturers orchestrated the attacks to boost demand for replacement windows.
Wait, what? So
this to me is in line with the other 9/11 conspiracy theories.
So big glass did
Big
9/11.
glass did 9/11. This is just like the ultimate, like this is just like a capitalism is bad conspiracy theory, isn't it? It's like big business
when you
wants
said
more
when you
business.
said glass industries did 9/11, my thinking was, like, so the sun, you know, because like when you have like magnifying glasses and the sun rays, I was like, you saying the sun like melted the steel beams? No. So so the theory is they did 9/11 so that people would buy more glass.
Because it didn't just break the glass in the Twin Towers.
Oh, it broke
blew
glass
out the
everywhere.
Glass, yeah.
How did World Trade Center 7 go down? That third building. How did that go down?
Don't
Smooth
know.
out
Ask the
for me.
glass industry. The government makes engineers insect-sized drones disguised as flies or mosquitoes to monitor citizens. This is like birds aren't real, but this is spy bugs.
Isn't there a Black Mirror episode like this where they have little robots, bees?
They can send them to in Black Mirror they like send them to cancel people, don't they, and like kill them.
Right. Yeah. Sure. Let's believe that one.
Yeah. Donald Trump is Elvis Presley.
Okay, give me this one.
A surreal claim that Elvis faked his death and returned decades later as Trump, with shape-shifting involved.
Okay, this is like the reptilian stuff, right? They believe that all these world leaders are reptiles. Yeah. Where did that come from? Do we know?
No, I don't know.
But it's a big thing.
Yeah,
like
it's
people
like an
actually
Illuminati
believe that
thing.
like the world leaders and stuff are all reptiles, and they'll like zoom in sometimes. Katy Perry's a big one because sometimes she seems to zone out at events, and they go, look, she's like reprogramming, or like the reptiles have lost control. There was a big one with Joe Biden as a reptile because they were like, look, he looks like he's like wearing a fake face and stuff, and he's just old.
So one of the reasons why they think that Elvis Presley is Donald Trump is because they think they look a bit similar in the face.
Elvis Presley and Donald Trump.
And to be honest,
do they?
Like,
show me.
I kind of see what they mean.
That's way more than I thought.
Yeah.
I think they both got quite a chubby face. Maybe.
Also, apparently Trump has obviously compared himself to
of course, yeah.
Elvis Presley. Okay. Any others? I'm just going to rattle off a few. Paul McCartney is dead. He died in 1966 and was secretly replaced by a lookalike with clues hidden in songs.
Hand to God didn't know he was alive. Is he alive?
Yes.
Okay.
He's alive. Antarctica. There is a cluster of theories claiming Antarctica is hiding secrets from Nazi bases to the entrance of a hollow Earth and is off limits to protect them. So yeah, this idea that we're not allowed to go to Antarctica because there's like loads of scary stuff there.
The flat earthers believe that Antarctica there's a giant wall that like encompasses the flat Earth, basically,
and you can't like go over it. And the government set up COVID to control the population. Yeah,
this is a big one. Should we talk about this one quickly? So COVID has, and I came with a few. Not that I believe in, but ones that I know are big. So COVID's a big one. And the view is two things. Either COVID was created for a vaccine to be injected into everyone, to either monitor everyone, to give everyone diseases, all this kind of conspiracies, that the vaccine was the end game of COVID, or that it was a bioweapon that was sort of inflicted on the world by China and others. The reason these conspiracy theories are so stupid is COVID killed millions of people, destroyed a global economy. And if you're of the view of these like great grand conspiracy and these like people in control at the top of government, the last thing they'll want to do is hurt the economy, because that's what makes them, that's where the money is. And if money is the ultimate, if money and power are the ultimate things, then there's no way they're going to do something that harms the global economy to the degree that COVID did. And if it was a bioweapon from China, so many people died in China of COVID. Why would they release it on themselves? And in terms of the vaccines, like people point towards like the side effects that every drug you take has side effects. If you actually read any drug that you take, there's always a 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000 side effect that you get, right? Because the vaccines were given to millions and millions of people, that 1 in 100 actually becomes a larger proportion of the population. So when you actually, I mean, this is true of all conspiracy theories, but particularly with COVID, it's such a ludicrous conspiracy theory to me. Because why would global elite and global power, who already presumably control things and have money and have power, want to destabilize the power and the money that they have by wrecking the global economy, by shutting everything down, by killing millions and millions of people, unless it's a population control thing, is basically what this.
Yeah, and I think to reduce people's movements, and whether it was
or to restrict people moving from one country. Why would they want to do that?
Well, exactly. It's just exactly like we live in a capitalist society.
Do you know what's amazing? People who believe in the conspiracy theory for COVID and to stop people moving are great replacement theory people as well. So basically, the elite are moving Muslims in to replace white people, but they also brought in COVID to stop people moving from one country to another.
Yeah.
Fucking.
I know. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I give you some of mine? Yeah, go on. So, these I don't believe in pretty much any of these, but these are some of the more interesting ones, I think, of the stuff that I've seen. So we spoke about COVID. The JFK one for me, let me try and convince you on. Right, so JFK is assassinated in, I think, Dallas, Texas, at opposite the book depository, and he's shot a couple of times. The fatal shot being the one in the head that's on film for everyone. Without spending an entire episode on this, there are a number of things that don't make sense with the theory. One is, so Lee Harvey Oswald it's the lone gunman theory, that he was a lone gunman. He was radicalized by communists, came back to the UK, was disenfranchised and killed John Kennedy from the book depository with a bolt action gun, by the way. So a bolt action gun is the old school ones where you shoot, you have to bolt it and shoot again. So Lee Harvey Oswald, by his own military background, is a terrible marksman. Right, so that's one. He's not a good marksman, and you're supposed to believe that he fired multiple shots on a moving target and hit a headshot to begin with. The time between the shots to me don't make sense, right? So with a bolt action, you would need to be an absolute expert to hit those 3 shots, hit them so accurately, and to bolt the gun in between. The most ludicrous part, do you know what Lee Harvey Oswald did apparently after the shots were fired? He ran out of the book depository and went to watch a movie. He was arrested at a movie theatre because supposedly he ran out of the book depository and then went and sat down and watched a movie. He was then arrested and he was killed by another police officer in the police station.
Yes, yeah. Before
walked up to him and shot him in the chest. And the reason that police officer gave was he didn't want Jackie O, JFK's wife, to go through the trial. It just stinks. And by the way,
who would have killed him then?
So eyewitness testimony, enormous amounts of eyewitness testimony from the road that he was on. There was a little grassy knoll, so a little section of grass. There are enormous amounts of eyewitness testimony that say that they heard multiple shots, one from the book depository and one from the grassy knoll, that there was multiple shooters.
So who would have killed him then?
So there's also one other things about the trajectory of the bullets with the magic bullet theory, which people...
where it like went in and had to leave and then go back.
Like
in
it went through someone's wrist down and then back up, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So there's a whole lot of conspiracy theories. Everything from he was killed by the CIA because of his objection to the Vietnam War, and that he didn't want... And basically there was such a fear of communism and the spread of communism at the time that the military-industrial complex was really keen on further expansion into stopping communist spread in Vietnam. And after the Bay of Pigs calamity that Kennedy went through, he was apparently very skeptical about further military interventions. There's theories about he was killed by the mafia because his family were kind of linked, and his father specifically had some sort of links to the mafia, and supposedly, allegedly, they helped him win the election, particularly in places like Chicago, and then he might have turned on them or did something. There's conspiracy theories about the CIA and the mafia working together to kill him. I don't actually believe any of the theories. All my actual view is that the official story is not the complete picture. There's no way he was killed by a lone gunman, in my view, in the book depository, and then that lone gunman went to watch a movie, was arrested, and then killed by a police officer. It just doesn't make sense to me. There is a theory I really like that's probably not true, but it was in one of the Netflix documentaries. There were multiple cars at the time. So as a presidential motorcade has one in the front, one in the back, and Kennedy is in an open top and he's waving at people. One of the views is the car in front of him had 2 Secret Service personnel with clocked guns, basically. The view is that Lee Harvey Oswald did shoot him, and after that shot, one of the officers, one of the Secret Service people on the front, jolted backwards and accidentally shot his gun and killed Kennedy. And they sort of covered it up so that it wasn't the Secret Service killing him. I don't know if that's true. I just enjoy that thing.
Okay. You've convinced me.
Very good. It's just
it took me back to my GCSE history then. Yeah.
By the way, it's I think a significant majority of American population believe it.
Well, that's why Trump was going to release the JFK files.
He did, and I read every single page.
And
nothing in there.
No.
Nothing interesting. No. QAnon. How much do you know about QAnon?
So I know a little bit. I know about Pizzagate.
Yeah.
You should take us through that.
So,
but obviously, I think what is important is this is a theory that actually has translated into real political violence.
Yeah. And an actual like community that protests, it commits violence, riots, that sort of stuff. So it began with an anonymous post on 4chan or 8. I didn't even know 8chan existed, but from someone called Q is what they called themselves. And claimed to have insider knowledge of the Trump campaign and the Trump political project. And apparently the view is that Q claimed that Trump is sort of an agent to fight against a secret global elite of pedophiles and like this sort of world government managing group of very wealthy politicians, celebrities, movie artists.
And they're like a satanic cult of
They're
pedophiles.
a satanic cult of people that drink blood and are pedophiles, that sort of stuff. And the view is that this secret network of elites control government, they run child traffic rings, they harvest adrenochrome, whatever that is, from children, and that Trump was secretly fighting them. And like the theories are as wild, and there's entire chains about, and they actually thought Q was Donald Trump himself,
right?
And he was posting things throughout to encourage them, and it essentially culminated in January 6th, where a lot of them showed up on January 6th because they were kind of pushed. No one knows who this Q person is. We don't even know if it's the same person that's been posting all the way through, or new sort of accounts have been set up. The problem is when Trump was asked about it, he refused to condemn it.
Yeah.
He was very vague and evasive about it, which further fueled the online tropes. I mean, it got as wild as mainstream theories that when Biden beat Trump in the re-election of 2020, that Biden wasn't going to be inaugurated, and on the day of the inauguration, January 23rd, I think there was, that John F. Kennedy was going to reveal himself as really being alive and working with Trump to overthrow this global conspiracy, and he was going to show up at the inauguration and kill Joe Biden, and he himself was going to inaugurate Donald Trump.
Wow.
But like Channel 4 did a really good documentary on this. I advise people go watch it. There's like real people, big communities of people that believe this.
So there was also Pizzagate, right? That was before Pizzagate was before
Biden.
The insurrection.
Yes. So Pizzagate was the view that there was like a child sexual trafficking ring being run out of a pizza shop by Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, basically it was. These were linked to Hillary Clinton's emails. They thought there was code in Hillary Clinton's emails to John Podesta, where they were basically talking about wanting to get pizza and stuff, and they thought that was like code for wanting to.
And someone showed up with a gun
children.
at this pizza shop in New York or something.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And it was all linked to just this like place, this pizza restaurant
and
that John Podesta and Hillary Clinton had been to.
So they use real world scandals because there's always kernels of truth that exist in these things, and that's what pulls people in. So, for example, Epstein, Weinstein, the Catholic Church abuses are all cited as proofs of the elite exploiting children. And of course, individually, these things were all true of either of sexual exploitation or sexual exploitation of minors, everything from the Catholic Church to Weinstein and Epstein, allegedly. But so they use these kernels of truth to. But what I love about this is I've got this little write up which includes counterpoints of like things that poke holes. And one of the first counterpoint is no prediction from Q has ever come true.
Nice. Okay, good. Excellent. So we can definitely put that in the conspiracy database.
Yeah. Can I move on to the next one? We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
The moon landing hoax.
Oh, yes. We haven't talked about the moon landing.
So the view is that the Apollo missions were filmed on Earth, likely on a soundstage, that we never went to the moon, and it was done to bankrupt the Soviet Union. That there was a global space race, which was true, of who was going to go into space and who was going to out-technologically advance the other between America and the Soviet Union. And America faked the moon landing to push the Soviet Union into spending more and more money into their space program, basically bankrupting them. And the arguments that they use is everything from the astronauts couldn't have survived because of the radiation, the shadows are off, and there's some problem with the shadows and the images that you're seeing. The no blast crater, so the lunar module didn't create a visible landing crater when they landed, all this kind of conspiracies. And one of the big ones is they always say is how come we went to the moon in 1969, I want to say. Why have we never been back? And obviously people will say we have been back. We've sent unmanned missions to the moon. But there's never been manned missions to the moon.
No. Yeah,
I do think it's suspicious that we've not been back.
The moon landing is a compelling one. It also seems like that, that...
And the
1969 is
a long time
ago. Yeah.
And this is before smartphones. It's before like electrical cars.
But again, all of that was in the context of a Cold War with lots of misinformation, lots of propaganda. It was a war of attrition. It was a war of words, and there was something about the idea that the state would want to show off their might in space, as that is a very powerful tool.
That's why I think it's so enticing, is because the actual the central thesis behind why America would fake it is a very compelling one, and you can see happening.
So
I've got two more I want to give you, but go.
Oh, okay. Do we have time?
Yeah, we got time for a few.
No, I was going to wrap us up, but yeah.
Okay, so I've got a couple more. One, if I didn't mention, my mum would kill me, because every Middle Eastern Arab mother and grandmother believes this. Princess Diana was killed in Paris in 1997. So the belief here was that she was assassinated by the British establishment because she wanted to marry a Muslim in Dodi Fayed.
Really? So everyone...
Oh, like literally, if you go into... Anyone over the age of 40 that's from the Middle East and or is Muslim believes that Princess Diana was killed because she wanted to marry a Muslim.
Okay.
And supposedly she was pregnant with a Muslim baby at the time.
Okay.
So, Mum, you can get off my back. I've said that one. This whole thing about how the MI6 killed her because she had secrets of the royal family and they didn't want Muslims to be involved, and the evidence that they use is things like missing CCTV cameras, delayed medical responses. Actually, Mohammed Al Fayed, the father of Dodi Fayed, was a believer in the conspiracy. He has since been wrapped up in his own scandals.
Yes, yeah.
So we'll leave that one.
We'll leave him. Yeah, we'll leave him out of it.
And then the last one is UFO and aliens. Now, this is too big to touch on, but the view is that governments are hiding proof of alien contact, alien technology, everything from Roswell to Area 51. There are literally thousands of cases of unidentified flying objects that have been spotted, hundreds of cases of people who have said that they have been abducted by aliens and or been involved with some sort of contact with aliens. And the government themselves have admitted to cases of unidentified flying objects that they don't know what it is. Now, they've never said it's aliens, but they say, yeah, there was something there at the time and we don't know what it was. So Roswell was in 1947, where they alleged that an alien crash covered up what was government called a weather balloon. The US Navy pilots capturing an unexplained aircraft, which people think defied physics in the way that it moved. Whistleblowers in 2023 hearing, someone called David Grush claimed secret crash revival programs did exist, and no one really knows what's in Area
51.
Can I ask you quickly, do you think aliens exist? Intelligent life exists out there?
Probably. Yeah. Intelligent life? What is intelligent life?
Well, intelligent life would be basically life exists in another universe, on another planet, that's intelligent enough to jump on a fucking spacecraft and get here.
Mate, I don't know about that, but there's probably there's definitely more than just us. I mean, we're not, we're rubbish, really.
But do you think we've made contact with any aliens?
No.
I just don't think you could keep it quite that.
I don't think we
But you know what happened? Like, people who believe this will go in interviews of like politicians and like study their faces and like their reactions to stuff
to see if they know.
Yeah, I just don't think.
Well, you're a politician.
I would know.
Yeah. Do you have any of the secrets you'd like to share?
Let's move on to the next one. No, that's it. The
That's
other one
it.
I've got is Epstein, but Epstein's pretty...
Okay, so I think what is interesting is clearly there are some more harmless conspiracies.
Yeah,
and some
like
that are
Finland
more,
doesn't exist.
Yeah, like, well, apart from that might piss off the Finns,
Yeah.
but apart from that, it is pretty harmless, and some of them are kind of satirical, and there might be some people who fall into these communities and start to believe it, but really...
But then there's more really damaging ones.
But then there's the harmful ones.
Vaccines.
And so Pizzagate, for example, led to a shooting incident, led to an insurrection, or at least QAnon did. You're right, anti-vaccine conspiracy theories, that
They're causing massive resurgence of things like
measles, yeah.
polio, diseases that we've really eradicated from society that are coming back because people are believing in these wacky vaccine conspiracies. Yeah.
And I think also just any that are ultimately kind of this idea of the deep state, or like the state is hiding stuff from you. I do think that really contributes to this feeling, this lack of trust that does link people to extremism, political violence, etc. So I guess the question is, when does a seemingly harmless conspiracy theory cross into something more dangerous?
I think it's tough. I think when it preys on people's vulnerabilities, I think when it preys on people's natural dissatisfaction with government, their angst. So vaccine conspiracy theorists and the nefarious players will often target families whose children will have autism, for example, and give them a reason as to why that is, and link it to vaccines. They'll target vulnerable people, I think, is when it gets really, really dangerous. Like, often if someone's showing up to Pizzagate to shoot up people, or if they're often vulnerable people.
I think as well, like, if it has a villain, a bad actor, and someone who, you know, you want to believe is evil or turn against. So, like, Finland not existing, like, there's not like there's a bad actor there, whereas QAnon, you know, that is all these people who are drinking children's blood, or you know, anti-conspiracy, that is doctors lying to you and the government lying to you.
But I also think conspiracies do also happen. There are cover-ups, right? There are conspiracies that happen, and often I think conspiracy theories are used to smear people who might have legitimate questions or concerns. Like Epstein, for example, there is clearly a question about who killed Jeffrey Epstein and what he knew.
Or how he died.
And how he
at the very
died,
least,
yeah.
And why he died.
Yeah.
And similarly, I think, you know, the COVID response was very, very panicked. And it did eventually happen, didn't it, that they did say, actually, under 30s or under 35 shouldn't be taking a specific vaccine because the chances of you having an adverse reaction to it are higher than you having an adverse reaction to COVID.
But that's how drugs work. But it's true. Yeah.
Exactly. But it was, but because everyone had been reassured.
Because there was so much anti-vax stuff going on at the time, and it was so important for people to get vaccines, there perhaps was a route to shutting down,
suppressing a little
questions
bit of
about the side effects, because
and similar with the lab leak theory. I think there were legitimate scientists suggesting this could have been a lab leak that was shut down very, very quickly, whereas now I think there is more of a discussion of actually we don't really know, or maybe we'll never
and it
know.
probably, like, the question about lab leak, it's definitely still an open question, but that's very different to the global elite doing it on purpose. If that makes sense.
And in a time of panic and, you know, widespread crisis, sometimes you do need to move fast, and sometimes that does mean having to not stop to have those conversations.
But what I think is really interesting is both of us were kind of pulled into this at a younger age, and we can certainly see some of the reasons why conspiracy theories are enticing, why they spread more often now. So is what I want you to do. Put comments about your favorite conspiracy theories in the comments. I'm really interested in going into some of the theories that maybe we haven't spoke about. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. We've got loads more content, podcasts, op-eds, different kind of videos. We're doing an experiment video soon, which I know everyone will love. So please share the video, comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Politics of Podcast.